Tonight, look at that. We have a release date for Daredevil Season 3 already. And wait a minute. Venom is going to be rated PG-13? What the heck? And we're going to get you ready for Tuesday's premiere, Season 2 of The Gifted, Michael Shirley's favorite show. Marvel TV Weekly starts now!
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Yes, welcome to Marvel TV Weekly. Here we are. Sympathy for the devil. The devil of Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Nice.
Finally, we talked a little bit about it last week, and I thought that there was going to be a Season 3 of Daredevil on October 12th. Turns out it's October 19th. It actually works way better for me. It's that weekend, so thanks, Matt. But very excited that we're going to get it all ready. And unfortunately, for someone who was a big fan of Iron Fist, he's already forgotten about, because now everybody's like, oh my God, finally, Daredevil. It's been 2 years since we've had a season of Daredevil, believe it or not. You know, obviously, the Defenders. The Defenders is a real offshoot of his show, but that was the last time we saw. But we'll talk about that and everything else in a few minutes. I am Christian Bladt, joined by Zia Land. Zia Anderson,
everybody.
but she's Zia Landerson.
Zia Landerson.
And Kari Lane.
What's up?
Amy Cassandra Martinez on assignment.
Yes.
I don't know what she's assigned to do, but she assigned herself not being here. No, she's getting ready to do some clever things out there. Make sure you always keep an eye on what she's up to. In any case,
I see what you did there.
oh, you like that?
I like that a lot.
Like, I just
Very
wanted
nice.
somebody to like it.
That was
And
good.
here's the great thing about Amy. She will watch this because she will watch the show when she's not here. Maybe because she's paranoid that we're going to say mean things about her. Who would ever say mean things about her? But she just wants to always know. So she'll appreciate that. She'll like text, haha, clever. I get it too. Anyway, all that being said, let's go to the big news, which is indeed not only do we have a date for Daredevil Season 3, but we're also getting some looks at the season, and we're going to see a little bit of Matt in the old costume, which is, you know, sort of the black, like sort of the mask, I don't know, what do you call that?
Classic.
Yeah, the
Classic look.
the OG. What do you call it?
I like
but Tony be Tony in the booth. by the
Ayo,
way.
what up, everybody? It's Tony in the booth. I like to call it the vigilante costume.
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
that's pretty much
good
what he
one.
wears when
Yeah.
he's being a vigilante.
Yeah.
And that, yeah.
Sounds right.
So, yeah, and we found out a little bit about the fact that season's going to be Season 3, Friday, October 19th. So, our show a couple days later, I will have probably not watched the whole thing, but I'll have watched more of it than I'll be able to talk about, because that's just the way we do things. Zia, the realization that Matt Murdock will be back in our lives October 19th. So surprising. What did you think? She's for those of you that are just listening, yeah, there was a lot of dancing. Yeah.
I'm
I
really
can hear those
excited.
fists.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was really excited. I'm really excited. The only thing now missing to complete this year, even though I know this isn't going to happen, is a Punisher Season 2.
We know that they've done Punisher Season 2, and there is a chance
waiting for
because
it.
I don't know that they'll squeeze it into this year, because but look, Netflix, while we've been talking right now, Netflix has released 3 series, 2 movies, and 4 comedy specials just in these 10 minutes.
Wild.
So, yeah, I know, it's crazy. And look, they just did another one, an animated series you never heard of. So there's so much content that maybe they'll find, maybe right around Christmas, because what says Christmas better than Frank Castle with a bunch of guns? You know?
The best Christmas present ever.
Because if you think Die Hard's a good movie, then you would think that Frank Castle is a great Christmas present.
Yes.
I associate Frank Castle, the Punisher, with Christmas. I don't know if that's just me. I mean,
It might just be you.
he's a very jolly fellow.
We were just
Yes.
talking about The Gift that was the original Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren. And if you have someone on your Christmas list that doesn't have it in their collection, go ahead and give it to them and see if they're your friend anymore. But anyway, we have some cool photos. Anthony is showing one of them. And this is, but for all indications, a very dark season. We have talked a little bit about it is based on the Born Again storyline written by Frank Miller from Daredevil 227 through 233. Or you can just buy it digitally. There's trade paperbacks, various collections where you can just read it. And the craziest thing about that story is, like, The issue before is just sort of like Daredevil doing Daredevil stuff. Episode 234, it's just like all of a sudden it's just back to being Daredevil. But like right in between is this crazy like, whoa, this is crazy dark. So Zia, the idea that we're finally going to get a look at this season, what do you think?
I'm so excited. I'm excited because this, if it's anything based on the comics, which I know we've talked about, it's going to be, again, you said it's very dark. This is 100% my style. So I'm looking forward to it, especially because I'm really looking forward to the tone and what they've shown so far. I'm excited about it.
So when it comes to your sort of comic book movies, are you more of, say, the darker worlds of Daredevil than you are, say, like an Ant-Man and the Wasp person?
Yeah. I mean, it depends. I still thoroughly enjoy those movies as well. And I like, the Thor movie that everybody hated.
The Dark World.
Yeah, I liked it.
I mean, I didn't hate it, but it's one of my least favorite Marvel movies. However, I like all the Marvel movies, so something's got to be at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy those as well, and sometimes I like a lighthearted thing. But for some reason, especially when it comes to series, when you're going to have more than one episode and it's not just a 2-hour fun movie, and just the feel of it, going with Daredevil and going with the Punisher, it needs that gritty feel for me. If it feels too cartoony, I'm not as into it.
Kari, your thoughts sort of on just Daredevil in general, what we've seen already, 2 seasons, and the Defenders, expectations for this season, and just your excitement level for more Matt Murdock.
I am excited for it. I'm not quite doing the happy dance, but I am excited. I enjoyed Daredevil very much. I am totally cool with it going dark. I think the better blend of a superhero anything is the mix of the lighthearted and the dark, because then you appreciate the different levels it gets.
Would you mean like Deadpool, or is that a little too much on the silly side?
That's a bit too much on the silly side. I mean, like the early Marvel movies had it. Like, they have the comedy in it where heavier things happen. So I'm excited that this will take a dark turn. And I feel it works with Daredevil because there are dark parts for Luke Cage, but somehow it doesn't seem as like gritty. Yeah, gritty.
Agreed.
And Punisher's in the gritty realm too. And so Daredevil feels that fit. Even Jessica Jones isn't quite that same gritty.
Well,
because she's so indestructible.
And there's a lot of comedic
maybe
moments
that's
with
it
her.
Luke Cage, too.
Yeah, I would say that Luke to a little bit of a lesser extent, but Jessica is just funny throughout. Lots of jokes, and just sort of her very sarcastic outlook on the world lends itself to comedy. So I think that, this is just going to be a really dark world, which is the name of Zia's favorite Thor movie, which I didn't intend.
Favorite, I just
No,
like
it's
it.
a favorite. It's okay. You can say it.
Well, but the question, here's a good one. Black Magic in the chat says, is it going too dark, though? It's been dark since it came out.
Yeah, I mean, this is going even darker. And I mean, look, the Kingpin is the main bad guy in this movie, in this season, sorry. And look, he's basically looking to destroy Daredevil's life. We'll leave it at that part right there. And then you watch the season and you'll see, we'll see how close it is to the comics. I feel like if you read the comics, it's not going to ruin the season. What was that, Tony?
I was like, he's destroying his life and his back. Like trying to break his back.
Well, it depends. I'm not quite sure what they're, how they're going to do that. I don't know if he's going to pull a full Bane on him, but we will see where that goes for sure. So obviously, these are a lot of teaser images. Having the date is very exciting. I thought they were going to do something tied in with New York Comic Con, which is the weekend before. Well, they're going to probably let you know, like, all right, here's what you can see. Maybe people there get to see it early, but very exciting. The interesting thing, sort of a little footnote to this, is Jeff Loeb, who heads Marvel TV, mentioned that they have talks and plans. They've mapped out Daredevil's seasons 4, 5, and 6. Now, none of these shows have really committed to even the season 3. But as we've sort of referenced in the past, if Netflix doesn't want any of these shows anymore, I'm pretty sure that Disney would be happy to have them on their streaming service.
But would they change like the darkness of it?
I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because, they're going to have a season of Star Wars Clone Wars, which is a lot darker than other Disney Star Wars content. Now, I don't know, maybe that one will be a lot cuter, maybe they'll be brighter and sunnier. And maybe that would happen with some of this, but on some level, they do understand what works. And that's why the merger with the Fox properties would be fascinating to see. Would Disney put out a movie like Logan? Would they put out a Deadpool movie. They apparently were not particularly interested in there being the Deadpool animated series that Donald Glover created. Supposedly the Disney/Marvel was really involved in that, killing that. So will be interesting to see. But I think that Netflix is like, well, people like these shows. This is great. But at some point, Netflix is gonna have to start paying some bills. They spend like $1 billion a year on content. And, I don't get any of it, so I think it's too much. But, if they want to start giving me some money, then that's fine. But, I give them money, so I feel like I'm paying for these shows because I am. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, what?
Well, similar, going off that topic, Black Magic adds, it would be stupid of them to change the tone of any show they acquire. The fan base would leave.
Yeah, no, I think that people would be very dissatisfied with an entire tonal shift.
They wouldn't leave.
Well, I would still watch it. And so I think a lot of people still would.
They'd be mad, and they'd watch it with their arms crossed and complaining the whole time.
This is not good, but I'm only going to watch 12 more episodes.
Because I'm such a fan.
Well, that's like people being upset for Venom rating. They're like, gonna go anyways.
Right,
Yeah.
that's true.
Well, and we'll talk about that in a second. What were you going to say, Zia?
Oh, I was just going to say, but that might not lead them to watch another season. If I watch one season that I'm not happy with, and the next season's done by the same, I'm not going to watch the next season.
True.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the next season. It's, I have a lot of problem breaking up with TV shows. Like I'll watch TV shows that I like at some point, and I'm just like, wait a minute, isn't every episode of Married with Children exactly the same? There were like 11 seasons. I was like in for like 9 of them, and then eventually I was like, why am I watching this? And just the idea of just not watching a show, I'm like, but I'm missing what's happening.
That's funny. I am not the same.
Yeah.
I
Good
will
for you.
tap
I
out
would
on
love to
TV
be like
shows
that.
all the time.
But on
wish I
purpose,
could.
I kind of ghost it. Like I'll be watching for a while and then kind of start not, and then be like, yeah, I started, and then it just kind of fell off.
Well, with the old model where you had to pay attention to when things were actually on, like a good example, this is off topic, but that's all right. The example I always use is the FX show Rescue Me with Dennis Leary. I really liked the first season, and I caught it like in the middle of the second season. And then all of a sudden there was a 4th season. I'm like, well, how was I supposed to know this? And I was just like, I just can't watch the show if I don't know when it's on. So that'll still happen though, especially, for Marvel and things, especially these shows, we're keeping an eye on when all the release dates are, and that's why we let people know. But there are definitely things that it's like, oh, hey, that's coming back. Like, perfect example. Show I really like on NBC is The Good Place. Well, that's back on Thursday. And I was like, already? I almost missed it, except I wouldn't have because it would be on Hulu. But you just see what I'm saying. You still, like, shows all of a sudden can be back. And that's the thing about a Netflix show. It can have been back for a couple weeks, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm 2 weeks behind, and that means 13 episodes behind. So I can't talk to anybody about it. So that's why we need everybody to watch Daredevil basically the minute it comes out. Watch it at midnight, and you'll be done around 1 p.m.
Now, see, I might do that for that, but Iron Fist.
Iron Fist was 10 hours. You could have been done by 10 a.m.
It was a struggle to watch one.
But did you stop after 1?
Yeah.
Because it's so good.
I was like, oh, is this how it's gonna be?
It's so good. And when we did the Iron Fist panel literally right before this, we did the season finale. And our panelist, our co-panelist, Emmanuel Wright, hates Danny Rand. He does not like him at all, and he really liked the season because he likes the other characters.
He's much better this season.
Yeah.
But when I'm getting the setup of who our villains are gonna be, it's just like,
Yeah, I mean, it's
go
mostly
from one
Davos.
annoying character to another annoying, whiny character. Well, all this stuff sucks. I'm just gonna whine about it. And you're just like, oh, can I get a worthy villain that you're like, yes, it's an opponent for my hero?
He's a pretty good villain as it goes along because, and we've talked about all the spoilers for Iron Fist on this show.
Yeah.
When Davos ends up with the Iron Fist, it's like, oh, hey, look at that. He's got 2 of them. That's right. I just spoiled one thing for you. But
I've already seen stuff
you've
about
already
that.
seen stuff. So
I'm not that invested in the show, so I don't think I'll be spoiled.
That's all right.
Darn.
Yeah, you should almost just watch the last 10 minutes of the last episode because then you'll see all the stuff where you're like, what the hell is that?
That's the only stuff that.
I would say actually just the last 2 episodes in their entirety because it's interesting how it all plays out.
I do like this. Haywood in the chat says, Carrie wants some sharp cheese. Yes, I need some cheese with that wine. Yes.
Nice.
Exactly.
I mean, I'll probably still watch it anyways because I watched the first season, but it was a struggle to get through
There's
it.
only 10 of them. There's 3 less than the first season.
10
Anyway.
is
Alright.
much better. I know
10
we've talked
10's
about
great.
this
If,
many times. But
If Daredevil season 3 is 13 episodes, great. If it's 10, I'm not going to be like, oh no. I'm going to be like, okay, they
Yeah,
clearly
yeah.
felt like it's a 10 episode story.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if they pick and choose, they'll figure it out. Anyway, we'll talk about a couple more things in a moment. But first, Zia has this important message.
Hey, AfterBuzzers! Our network produces after shows for nearly all of your favorite TV shows. From dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more, there is no network that works harder to serve television fans. But we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that is tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they are optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments, and we'll thank you on air. For now, thank you for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV Talk.
I feel like I already heard you read that today. Anyway, thank you, Zia.
Just about, 30
and
minutes ago.
We alluded to a little bit ago, there is a little bit of grumbling, and by that I mean people are very upset, that Venom was given a PG-13 rating. It had been, we'd been
Oh
given the
my
indication
God.
that it's going to be, did you not know that, Anthony?
No, we
No,
knew.
I'm furious about
Yeah.
I'm not like furious. I'm
Why?
really
No, well, we've been given the
Disappointed.
indication that it was going to be
Yes.
rated R, and that's a great way to do that character. He
Yes.
literally bites people's heads off.
Yes.
That's not a PG-13 thing. And, you know, good for Fox sticking to their guns with Deadpool, because, yeah, you could have softened it a lot and it would have been PG-13 and it would not have been as good. And I think the Venom movie will be good, and if it's not, I'll still have seen it and spent money on it, so they don't care. It's just more when they want to go and make a Venom 2 and they want it to be rated G. That's going to be a problem. But I think that the character would work so much better, and I don't know, whatever their market research finds that, oh, we're going to sell X more tickets if it's PG-13. The one thing that it tells me is that they're not entirely happy with the way it turned out. So they're like, you know what, let's soften it a little bit. Let's sell some more tickets. And if it is a little bit of a surprise and it does well, then we'll have the big unrated edition that you can get digitally and on Blu-ray. And if people love the unrated edition, maybe we'll even sneak it back into theaters. But
Yeah.
Tony,
It's-
you clearly are.
I've been tracking this
yeah.
film. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, he was it David Fleischer had an interview with Fandango where he did say that depending on where it lands, we'll see if there is even an unrated cut of it, which kind of sounds like depending on how well the film does,
Yeah.
we'll see if it's even worthy or worth making an unrated cut of the film. Sorry, can you guys hear me? I'm getting
Yeah.
Yeah, you were cutting
Okay.
out a little bit. Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, I am really disappointed in this news. I really wanted an R-rated Venom. Granted, I want to be a bit positive, and I want to say that it can still work. It's just not going to have that same effect. They can do bites, heads being bitten off, but they just can't show it. They have to do it off screen, and there's an effect. I think there's an effective way that you can pull that off. And if not, then as long as they have the overall tone of Venom, and he's still like quirky but also very terrifying, without killing anyone, then I think it'll still be a something to watch, and I'm still for it. I'm just a little sad about it.
I think it sort of defeats the purpose of divesting the character from Spider-Man, because if it's any way related to Spider-Man, of course it would be PG-13 or even PG. Spider-Man's not an R-rated character. He has a couple of R-rated stories where just like dark stuff happens to them. I gave a trade paperback of one to Carrie for her birthday, Kraven's Last Hunt. But really, it's like, well, then you have this opportunity to tell this really dark version of this character. I don't know why you wouldn't do it.
Well,
So
we
go
had
ahead.
said on Horror Movie News that the possibility was more that they could tie it in with a Spider-Man film later, which is PG-13.
Yes.
Yeah, and yeah,
But-
But you could still do that with
You
this
could
one
have
being
still
rated
done
R.
this
Exactly,
R
yeah.
as the
Yeah,
intro.
I mean,
There's
Deadpool
no-
has X-Men in his movie. He
Yeah.
has Colossus in his
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
Yep.
the fact that they did this in hopes that they would cross the stream with Spider-Man just is so ridiculous to me, because they could have just made again, like they could have just made the rated R film. It could have been what it should have been, and then they would have had like the Sony. They would have had like MCU like clamoring
Yeah.
for like they would love to have Venom on after that, after the success it would have been.
You're right, Anthony. They should not have gone for it, because if we learned anything from Ghostbusters, don't cross the streams. We obviously know that that's not
Never.
what they should do.
Ever.
But Zia, so you hear this realization, and the point that was being made earlier. You still gonna see it though?
Yeah, I
No.
already bought tickets.
Good for you,
So,
by the way,
yes.
because I don't have tickets yet. But
So it's happened. Yeah, I'm absolutely going to go watch it. But it's a disappointment. I was expecting a rated R movie. It's not going to be a rated R movie. It worked perfectly with Deadpool and it worked perfectly with Logan. And I don't really think they lost any money on it because I also have to say that I know people who had kids that took their kids to see Deadpool anyway.
yeah, I went to when I saw the first Deadpool, there was like a mom and a kid who was like 9 here, and I was just like, I feel like I should say something like, "Do you know what you're about to see?" But they stayed the whole time, so I'm like, clearly they did.
They
But
did.
just over the weekend, I saw a kid. I was at the LA Zoo. He had on a Deadpool T-shirt and a Deadpool hat. I'm like, he's clearly seen the movie. He's like 9, 10, so whatever. I mean, I saw the Dolph Lundgren Punisher when I was 12. But I don't think that's like seeing Deadpool. Kari, so ultimately that's what it comes down to. People are going to see it anyway. But
I think people are going to see it anyways, but definitely those who want the rated R are going to go with their arms crossed and be like, well, fine. I'm
Yeah.
still going to go watch it anyway.
Yeah.
Of course.
But I think it's more we all want to go be like, well, please pleasantly surprise me
Yeah.
and make it a good PG-13. Because there are some PG-13 movies that are intense. I mean, it's not like I can listen. It's on my head, but
I'm trying to think
I
of.
know
I was
there
trying to
are
think of
good
and
ones,
maybe
not like-
something to think of in the future is there an effective horror movie that was done? I don't mean a slasher movie, but like a horror movie that was told PG-13 was done well. I'm sure there's an example. Anybody in the chat has one? Please let us know.
Yeah, what are some of your favorite, like, it should maybe have been a rated R, but they did PG-13 and it's good. Also, a few other people. Christian Jackson also bought tickets, as well as, where'd it
Zeal,
go?
see you there.
Star Drew bought their tickets. And what was something else? Yeah. Hayward Wong says, so Sony wants as much money on it. Yes. So it's pretty much, it's a good way to get more money because if it's PG-13, you get more people. I was just saying on Box Office Breakdown, I was in line for the movies and they turned away these kids. I mean, they weren't that young, but they were in high school and they asked for ID because they wanted to see a rated R movie and they got turned away because they didn't have ID.
Well, one thing that is a little harder to do now that you
Oh.
have assigned seating at movie theaters, which personally I think is great.
Love
What
it.
did we used to do at the multiplex?
You
we'll,
sneak in.
we'll buy a ticket for the PG movie or even
Yeah.
the Disney movie,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll just go and see the R-rated movie that you would never tell your mom you were going to go see. Even like in the old days, you'd have at least 6 to 10 movies to you'd like buy one ticket and
Yeah.
then just go into another one. Anyway,
Apparently kids today aren't that smart.
well, you also have assigned seats, so
That's
it's like
true.
hard. I mean, you're like, I guess you
But
can
you
look
can check
online
the app before you go
and you
in.
can see where
Yeah.
they're empty. And like, well, if I sit in the back row, I'm gonna be okay.
Let's see. Star Drew says Gremlins, but I don't think that's that
I think
intense, but maybe.
it was Gremlins. Gremlins might have been rated PG
Yeah.
because it's before
The PG-13.
PG-13.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Dune and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, for me, if I'm right, those are the first two like PG-13 movies that I remember. And yeah, so PG used to just be a wide range of like anything from like just above a Disney
remember-
movie to like right below a slasher film.
Like, not intensity of violence, but like the nudity in Titanic was PG-13, and you saw a lot of like boobs for that, which was like, oh, this was, and what the different how the ratings changed. DeAndre Sanders says The Ring. That's a good choice.
Oh,
That's a
that's
scary
not rated
one.
R. Okay, so I
Not
just
bad.
assumed it was rated R. But yeah.
And then Christian Jackson says, I mean, Avengers 1 was almost rated R because of Coulson
There's
getting
no way.
stabbed showed too much.
There's no way. I saw
I
that.
think that they adjusted the scene.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't think that affected the movie in any way. That I don't think that movie should have been rated R. So I understand that. That's one of those ones. Hey, this one thing in your movie shouldn't be there.
Do you guys remember NC-17?
Yes.
I do. and
What was that?
so that was like
Even more intense.
What you used to have was the highest rating was X. And that often is what you think of for pornographic films.
That's what I was
And
thinking.
when you had an X rating, a lot of publications wouldn't run ads for it. Like a great example, the film Midnight Cowboy, when it was released, was rated X. There was a cut of Saturday
Midnight
Night Fever.
Cowboy?
Yeah, there's a cut of Saturday Night Fever. Because they used the C word in it, it was rated X. So obviously in the mainstream cut, they go
Wow.
ahead and take that out.
Which is funny because in another country like Jim Jeffries, that's a common slang word for
Yeah,
him.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like his middle
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So and so then the
Lord of the Rings movies.
I don't see. Yeah, I mean, I don't see
That
those
has-
as like
but
the
that
horror
still has
movies. But
violence.
yeah, that's true.
Very
They're very
violent.
They are
Holy
very
crap.
violent.
Yeah.
How is
Absolutely.
that not rated?
I would say the Hobbit movies
Conjuring
too. Sure.
is
Yeah.
PG-13.
See, these are great examples. But so what NC-17
Showgirls.
and Showgirls was rated
Yeah.
NC-17,
Okay.
and
Alright.
appropriately, by the way.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people didn't want that NC-17 rating either, though, because it was just like, well, what is that? And famously, Kevin Smith's first movie, Clerks, was rated NC-17 just for the language.
Was it
Yeah.
And
really?
then he talked to them and he explained it, and then he was able to get an R rating. It's like that was the first time that they ever changed a rating.
Wow, I did not know that.
And it literally is just people talking, so
But
it really
also,
shouldn't have been.
It just changes over the years. Like a rated PG movie, you know, in the 80s was rated R or something, and today we'd be like, really? That's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, you could
So
re-rate some
true.
movies.
that
Yeah.
changes over time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway,
Scream?
go ahead. Scream, I really thought that was rated R, but it would make
Yeah,
sense.
PG-13,
It would
yeah.
make sense as PG-13 because it's mostly a comedy.
Sky
Oh, no, he
Patterson
says they're
out of that.
originally
That's
rated NC-17.
Okay.
Oh!
Yeah.
Scream was originally rated NC-17.
And
Okay.
Titanic, he says. I don't know. I don't know about it.
because
Yeah.
of the boobs.
I was like, that's the only main part. There's some, yeah, there's not really much.
No, I don't think so.
We'll see that. Anyway,
And
go
then
ahead.
another one,
Tying
quick
this
note
up,
on
yes.
rating. Christian Jackson points out, watch the film. This film is not yet rated. It's a great documentary on ratings of R versus NC-17.
You know, I've heard of that, and
Yeah,
that's
I've heard
actually
of that
very
too.
yeah. It's sort of like a nerdy like film geek thing that I'm very interested in, especially sort of the idea of when ratings have changed
Same.
and the introduction of PG-13. Anyway, we will of course still see Venom. We'll probably
Yeah.
talk about it, maybe even that weekend. I know I'll see it. Zia, when do you have your tickets for? For Friday or you
No, Saturday.
Saturday?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's Nick and I's only day together, so we typically see
Wait,
movies that day.
This weekend?
No.
Okay,
The
I was like, there's
Saturday
no way.
of the
That
the
it comes
movie.
out,
I
yeah.
believe it's like 2 weeks, right?
I think
Yeah,
so.
it's the 5th of October,
Yeah,
which
that's
is the
2 weeks.
Friday.
I don't think
Yeah.
I've bought any movies. Okay, that's a good question for comments in chat. How far in advance have you bought tickets for a movie?
Not usually, just
I don't
because
think I
I don't
ever
go.
do.
Well, do you go Saturday during the day?
Usually.
So you probably don't need to, but it's
No.
more like, oh, I just want to have
Well,
them.
we also I like to sit in one particular
Oh,
row
okay.
in the two middle. We're those people. We have like between 4 seats that we always sit in,
Yeah.
depending on which ones are available.
Okay,
And that's
look,
it.
you know
we
where you
have a
want to
list
sit.
saved on our phone of certain theaters and what
Nice.
row, and yeah.
Nice.
Well, because it totally changes the experience.
does.
I don't
It
like to sit
does.
below it and look up
Nope.
at it.
Yeah, I don't want to sit too close. I usually like to be on the aisle because I don't want to feel like I'm a jerk if I get up. But if it's IMAX 3D, especially, like, can you get me as close to the middle as possible?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we'll talk about all that. Now, one thing that is coming up even sooner than that, Tuesday, is season 2 of The Gifted, which is a show that we talked a lot about on this show during its original 13-episode run. There's the whole gang. You know, I like when I did the screen grab of that. There was that X up there, and I'm like, I'm not going to crop that out because I think it's funny that it's
It
there.
works.
Yeah. So we have kind of the whole cast here. And what I think, and then now this is a look at the very different season 2.
Yeah.
Now, we had, I don't know that anybody on our panel, Kari, you were here from the beginning, loved it. Maybe
didn't
liked it
love
more
it.
in the beginning.
I didn't love it at first, but I grew to really like it.
Now,
actually.
our I was going to say departed, but our friend Michael Shirley, who has moved, he's still very much alive and very much on social media. You can follow him at Michael X Shirley. See a free plug. He didn't even ask me for that. In fact, he'd be like, "Why are you plugging?" Anyway, so he really hated it, and I did not like it, mostly because I didn't like the way they treated the character of Polaris. She's a great character in the comics. She's Cyclops' sister-in-law. She's Magneto's daughter, and she's a super badass. And she's just like really annoying on the show in the first few episodes.
Fair enough.
Then her character arc really picks up, and especially in the season finale, I'm like, oh man, I really like what they're doing with her. I can't wait to see it. I came around. You
Yeah.
will concede
Well, it was
that
a
by the
show
end of the
that-
season, I came around.
I could agree at the beginning it's not quite, right. You're just like, nothing. And then like the not secret agent, but the agent who's after them, him, I'll just warn you now, he's kind of annoying and doesn't get any better.
Oh no.
But like that character was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know?
So and I used
No
to
growth
I
there.
used to isolate from each episode when we talk about it. I would isolate my favorite bad quote of dialogue.
Yes.
Lauren complaining about making corn muffins is the one that will always stick with me. So there's some bad clunky dialogue. But Zia, you watched 0 episodes of The Gifted season 1. And you know what I would say that you should do? Just watch season 2. Because
I like that
it's
advice.
starting in an interesting place, and you know what they're going to do at the beginning? They're going to give you probably 2 minutes of here's all the stuff you need to know, and as the story goes along, they'll probably over-explain it a little bit. Where people who did watch, like, well, who are they saying all this for? They're saying it for Zia, who didn't watch.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
I think that there is a potential for a very enjoyable show, sort of buried under the show that they did season 1. The ratings were good enough that Fox didn't really have too hard of a decision to make here. And it does indeed start on Tuesday at 8, 7 Central. So we'll take just a couple minutes and we'll talk a little bit about the major players involved. Is there some comments on? Yes.
Agrees. It has its highs and lows. I'm with Kari. It gets good on the back third, 25% of the season. Then it was a couple people talking about looking forward to season 2. Where'd it go? Marv Season says, "Oh, and Andy is now a white-haired badass.
Yeah, he has Quicksilver hair,
Black-
which is interesting.
Quicksilver has cooler hair."
Well, I gotta say, I'm liking this trailer.
Oh yeah,
It
the
looks
trailer that
good. I
you're
was
like,
showing
wow,
is a
this is
really cool
cool.
comic book trailer. I didn't even look up and see that you were showing it. Yeah, I really like
Yeah.
the way that they did this comic book style. It's very smart because I think a lot of comic book people were put off by the initial episodes because it was this family. I still don't care about the parents. They're not that interesting to me. The kids, Lauren and Andy, became interesting, especially when you found out that they were super powerful when they combined their powers. That was very interesting to me.
But then I also agree a little bit, though. It says Andy looks more emo now, which I was like, yes.
Yeah, hold on. Oh no, there's
Where is
there's
that
the
one?
still that I also sent. And yes, this season is called The Dawn of the Mutant Age, and they make it sound so cool. Zia, does calling it The Dawn of the Mutant Age make it seem like something that you're more inclined to watch?
Actually, yeah, a
Okay.
little bit. That was very clever there because that sounds like the dawn of the. Okay.
I think they include Morlocks too, right?
Yes, we're going to talk about that in a
Ooh.
second.
I was like, oh, isn't that
Okay.
a trigger word for you?
yeah, no, it's not a trigger word. That's yeah.
No, for
Oh, for
Zia,
Zia,
it is.
yeah.
Oh yeah, because of the cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Zia, if you weren't doing this show, and by this show I mean Marvel TV Weekly, would you still check that out, or you'd be like, well, let me see?
Probably not,
Yeah.
honestly, because the first season to me just looked. I couldn't even bring myself to start it. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
I mean,
sorry, guys.
look, when we had Robbie Damon, Spider-Man himself, all he saw was just a picture of it, and he's like, he just looking at that picture, he's like, oh yeah, I can't. This is a show. Is actually what he said.
That's right.
So, you know, I do understand it. You know, it's sort of just it basically it's a simple story of Andy Strucker, his sister Lauren, and their parents are Reed and the mom whose name I always forget, Caitlin. Amy Acker is actually the actress's name. So just to sort of just touch on that, they basically are doing some work against like rounding up mutants and, you know, all the bad guy sort of work. Whoops, turns out your kids are mutants and you're going to have to get arrested too. So they go on the run. So it's actually a great concept. But even from the pilot, I was a little disappointed for how it was executed. What are people saying in the chat?
Bryce 23 says, Andy, live from my zombie call and she wants her look back. So I was like, all right. And then, what is it? Other people making not quite specific on the show. So
That's all right.
yeah, so people are interested, like curious via the trailer. They had a giant billboard at Comic-Con with Polaris on like the side of a building, which looked pretty awesome. I think it's gonna look interesting. I think we also had some issues with like the dating kind of angst stuff that went on that, okay, we get it, but can we move on?
Yeah.
So I hope they kind of get past some of that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that there was definitely a lot of that. And, you know, you alluded to the storylines that deal with Agent Turner, who works for Sentinel
Turner, thank you.
Services. And he has an interesting story. everything in this show centers around an event that they reference. I believe it was July 15th, but that's just off the top of my head. So maybe it's a different date. But there's like some incident happens. And as a result of that incident, nobody knows where the X-Men are. So there's this mutant underground that kind of has to carry on this mission. And our family ends up running into the mutant underground, despite the fact that the dad was a lawyer who was putting away mutants. They take them in because of the kids. So this Agent Turner is really trying to find them. He's not a great character. He has an interesting backstory, which is that his daughter died on this day of July 15th. And so he sort of has a personal vendetta against mutants, which could have been played better. But you have people showing up at his house, and just you have bad storylines that that involved him. And then when they bring in the doctor, you remember the doctor character, Kari? Dr. Roderick Campbell,
Yes.
played by Garrett Dillahunt,
He
who
was
you might know
interesting.
from a lot of shows. But to me, he'll always be the dad from Raising Hope.
I hadn't seen
I was
that,
about to
so
say
I was
Raising
fine.
Hope, baby.
Loved him
Yeah.
on Raising Hope. So
What was the other one? Yeah, that didn't bother me as much. Oh wait, never mind. I lost what I was like. I had one and I lost it. Keep going.
that's all right. So you know the relationship storyline of Lorna Dane, who is Polaris, and Marcos, who I'm never quite sure what his code name is on the Gifted After Show.
Flashlight.
Stephen Lemieux calls him Flashlight. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, and you know I should have asked Stephen to pop in just for this couple minutes here, but he's always so busy. Anyway, so their relationship super annoying, hard to watch. You feel bad when she's in jail. And
Oh, I
she's
hope
such
that
a,
goes through quickly because she was a character just in the trailer for the new season. She's like, the baby needs more than love.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh,
yeah.
oof.
But so when she's in jail, not able to use her powers, you've taken a great character like Polaris. You're not letting her use her powers. So already that's a problem. They didn't have her have green hair in the pilot, but then she washed out the black hair in episode 2. So very clearly they
Yeah.
were like, oh, okay, so we're not treating this
Magic.
character right. Let's do that. But their relationship is just unpleasant to watch when he's like got to go do some work for the lady crime boss, and he's doing it to try and help her and the baby and all this sort of stuff. You know, it's just like, well, they're mad now and they're gonna like break up over it.
Mom and Dad are fighting.
It's just yeah, and then it's like, oh,
Yes.
I'm having
That's
a
a
baby.
good way to put it,
And there's
yeah.
just a lot of talk about the baby, and then the baby has powers like inside of the womb. So these are all things, Zia,
And
that aren't necessarily.
Yeah, I'm
You
gonna
know.
skip. I'm gonna skip this.
You just
The
skip
drama.
season
Skip these
1.
things,
That's where
yeah.
the
telling
drama
you,
comes in.
there's,
Yeah, I'm gonna
it
pass
gets
on that.
good at the end, but it's fine. They're gonna recap the end, the part that's cool.
Start watching
And-
at like episode 7.
Yeah,
that might
just
even
jump
be
in
too. That
later.
might even be too early. There's 13 episodes. Episode 12, you'll probably be all right.
I think the thing was with Turner is he was just such a one note kind of bad
Yeah.
guy chasing them that I get it. You've had this horrible trauma. I can get behind that, but he just never ever. I'm this one thing, and you just can't associate with him, and I
Yeah.
felt that was frustrating.
There's very little growth for the character.
Yeah.
There's moments where you think he might be able to be sympathetic, and it's all just like mutants are bad, and it's just like, all right, we get it. Nobody likes mutants.
Yeah.
There's sort of an interesting angle where Sentinel Services is using mutants to work for them, and you know,
Get other mutants
to
That
help
was
find
pretty
mutants,
interesting.
and that's the Hound program from Days of Future Past in the comic books, which is fascinating.
I hope we see more powers.
Well, we will see more
It
powers.
looked like it in the trailer.
At least, yeah, at least a couple minutes here and there. Because, as we alluded to, the one thing we are going to get this season is the Morlocks. And for those that don't remember from the X-Men animated series or the comics, they live in the sewers underneath New York City. I don't know. This series is set in Atlanta because they film it there. All right, I guess that's fine. But really, Atlanta? I really need a superhero show set in Atlanta. Isn't that where Walking Dead is because they film it too? We get it. It's hot. You know, just pretend it's somewhere else. It's fine. Anyway, so it'll be cool to see which characters from the Morlocks we're actually going to get to see. The only one that I know they cast as a series regular is Erg, who you might remember. And if not, that's all right. You'll probably get to see him. So we have the Morlocks. And at the end of last season, they did introduce the Hellfire Club, which is a very interesting part of the X-Men mutant universe. And the characters that honestly I was not that familiar with, the Stepford Cuckoos, the Frost triplets, who are, I guess, sisters of Emma Frost, all played by the actress Skylar Samuels from Scream Queens, by
Can I
the
just
way.
say I really like that character.
You did or didn't?
I did. 'Cause
No,
she
I
was-
really liked
she
that
was
character.
ruthless. I love her just
and
killing people.
that was the only reason why Michael Shirley was able to tolerate the show, is because he really liked those characters from the comic books. And the three of them being part of the Hellfire Club, the idea that the Hellfire Club's involved, sort of building on this foundation that Andy left his family behind because he believes in the mission of the Hellfire Club, not the Mutant Underground. That's creating some great conflict, despite the fact that Andy and Lauren are super powerful when they're actually combining their powers. And honestly, when their powers are separate, they're not that good. You know, they're kind of lame. So
Yeah,
it'll be
not yet.
interesting.
They need more practice. Montage training sequence.
Yeah, that's all we need. You know, an X-Men comic book or a movie would have the Danger Room and just like, all right, now they're good at their powers.
But yeah, both of them can have the potential to be like badasses, like on their own, you know. Especially Andy too. I love his power. He's just like his personality could be worked on a little bit. Yeah.
Characters that I like that we haven't talked about are Thunderbird and Blink. I think that they're actually a good pair. And I like the two of them. They killed off that Dreamer character, who I actually thought was a good character, who could you know, sort of influence minds through an interesting.
Though
kind of
who
effect.
looked like she could be Polaris' sister, which we talked about that.
That might have been why they just thought it was too similar. But yeah, so they killed off. That was one of the only characters I liked at that point in the season when they killed her.
I like Blink and Thunderbird though.
Yeah, well, those were the three characters I liked at that point.
Someone brought up a ship name for Blink and Thunderbird. Thunderblink.
I like Thunderblink.
Okay.
That's my favorite White Zombie song.
Shout out.
Thunderblink 65.
Shout out to Black Magic 99.
Black Magic 99 is always there in the chat. So thanks so much.
They're kind of also they had not much variety of people of color too, and so I was like, oh, the only two we really like are the only two characters of color.
That's true. She's Asian and he's Native American, and
though Marcos is too, but we're not saying we love that character as much.
No, I don't like Flashlight. I'm gonna just.
I
side
like
with,
him though.
He's just annoyed me too much.
He's one that has so much potential, and that's what's frustrating.
Yeah, I was about to say like I like the idea of him. I guess.
Here's what I'm afraid is gonna happen. So Tuesday, I'm gonna watch the season 2 premiere, and I'm going to just remember all the things I hated about this show. Right now, I look at the trailer, I see the image, and I'm like, this looks like it could be cool. Like right now, Zia, you hear us talking about a lot of negative things, but we're looking towards like, well, the Morlocks and the Hellfire Club. These are all cool sounding things, right?
They are cool sounding things. The problem though is the way and this is the problem I have with network TV. They can just, I have a hard time with shows that are on network because they never quite get it right.
Well, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if you look way back, and obviously this was for kids, the X-Men animated series, you don't call it the Hellfire Club, it's the Circle Club. Right. And yet inside the Hellfire Club was the inner circle. So you couldn't have the Circle Club. So obviously that created a problem. But yeah, you do. And obviously, again, that's for kids, but you do run into similar problems like that. Sort of what you can show, what you can't. It'll be interesting to see how they do. In a network TV environment. This season has 16 episodes for some reason, 3 more than last. Yeah. So
Seems like a lot.
It seems like a lot. But when you think about a network TV show will still put out 22 episodes. I mean, a show like any of your procedurals, your NCIS, your Law and Order SVU, those
like
I think have
22.
24.
Yeah,
Those usually have
24.
24.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. This is DC also, but I believe The Flash and those shows also have.
Yeah,
Oh,
22
yeah.
episodes,
22
is
episodes,
normal.
yeah.
Yeah,
Way
I think,
too many.
I think
Yeah.
Supergirl had 20 episodes in the first season, and
Yeah.
that was mostly because CBS was like, yeah, we don't want it anymore.
Similar to our thoughts on Marcos, Bryce in the chat says, I like Marcos. They're misusing the actor.
Oh, yeah, I have no problem with the actor. I just think the way that the character's written. You know, I think that, and I think his power is cool, and I think that the character is well-intentioned. It's just when they give him things to do in a story, moving from point A, B to C, I'm just like, oh, it's all pretty annoying what you're doing.
I know, and it's kind of annoying too, because I don't know, I'm just thinking about it, and I feel like he has like the most depth to him. Like he has a lot of depth to that character because he's got like not only is he kind of like the leader of this underground rebellion, but also he has his girl who's pregnant, but also she sees like the darker side of the rebellion. He's an interesting character. I don't know why he's failing me right now.
I don't know, and I hope that they're sort of able to use him as like, you know, he is a wholly like good person, and he's well intentioned, and his girlfriend uses her crazy magnetism powers to rip an airplane out of the sky and kill a doctor. And you know what? When that happened, I'm like, yeah, I am Team Polaris all the way. I was very excited. I'm like, this is what the show was missing. And now, you do stuff like that because you're like, I don't know if we're going to be around for season 2. Let's try to impress people. Kind of like what they did at the end of season 2 of Iron Fist. Yeah, it was like, we don't know what's happening, so here's some crazy shit. Let's see what happens. Anyway, so I think that I am looking forward to the season very cautiously, though, because the pilot or the premiere could be good, and then 2-3 episodes in, Zia, you might be sitting right here and just be like, wait, why are we watching this again? But I hope that they live up to the potential, and we hope everybody in the chat agrees with us. But we will talk about the first episode of The Gifted next week when we're back here, and we'll see if we include it into our weekly watch list. But I will keep watching it because, as we said about Venom, I just keep watching all this stuff. No matter, as Legion is a much better show, but even no matter how confusing it got, the idea that I might stop watching never entered my mind. My wife was out after 2 episodes in season 2. I was like, no, I'm all in. She kept falling asleep was the biggest part.
Yeah, that's a show you have to be.
You have to be awake. Anyway, so we'll talk about that next week, and maybe we'll know a little bit more about Daredevil season 2, and then we'll really be getting ready for Venom. So maybe we'll spend a couple minutes talking about the Venom character. In the comic books is just a lot different.
That'd be so cool. Sorry.
That'll be so. You don't want
I really want that.
You'll be here, so we'll get to talk about what we like about Venom. Anyway, so that's it for this week. Thanks so much to everybody in the chat. Very active chat, which we always like, especially for a late show like this. We always really appreciate it. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. And if you want to see me all around AfterBuzz, Mondays I do Better Call Saul. Tuesday I got the Trump Report. Wednesday South Park's back this week.
Ayo.
So you'll see me there, and you'll see Tony B. Tony in the booth. So tune in Wednesday for the big South Park season premiere, 10 Pacific on AfterBuzz. Hashtag cancel South Park.
Yeah.
And Zia, where do people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Zia_land. It's XIA_land.
And Kari.
Yes, you can find me all over the studio as well. Next weekend is the Winona Earp finale, Sundays at 7, so only one more. And box office breakdown, which is right before this, talk about the movies over the weekend. Tuesday, horror movie news with Tony.
Hey-o.
And then also AfterBuzz anime reviews. We're talking about My Hero Academia. And you can find me online at Kari D. Lane, SKARIDLANE.
These are the plugs that never end, but I forgot to mention Tuesday, I will be a special guest on Marvel Movie News. Our friend Amy Cassandra Martinez is on that show. So you missed her this week, but you'll see her over there. And she asked if I could sit in. And so that'll be the first time I'm on over there. That is 2 p.m. Pacific, I believe, Tuesday on
Marvel.
Popcorn Talk. And tell me if I'm wrong, if that's when that is.
That
right?
is. It's at 2 p.m.
And Tony's in the booth on that show,
I
too.
am, and I'm actually Aunt Anthony there. I'm dubbing Amy Marvel News. Yeah.
Amy Marvel News. Well, that's great. So anyway, you'll find me there and all the other plugs that we just had. Thanks again, everybody. And until next time, Excelsior!
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.